GFL Radio, all things boxing. I'm Frank Steyer. With me is my co-host for today, Tim Cuggus. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just getting ready to talk about this man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you're getting ready to talk about this fantastic Peltz Boxing at the Bally's, headlined by Pat Majewski and Jamaal the Truth Davis. It's going to be a sensational event. I can't wait, Tim. Tell us what you know about it.
I mean, Majewski's a tough competitor. He's a top contender in the middleweight division. He's been coming up for some time. I've been watching him closely. Last time we seen him, he defeated Latif Mundy, which is a tough Philly fighter and a friend of Jamaal Davis. Jamaal has to be Patrick's toughest test to date. Jamaal's been in there with a who's who of names in the boxing world. Gabe Rosado. I actually just rewatched the War at the Shore on GFL, this Philly War at the Shore on GFL.TV when Rosado and Davis faced off, and what was a great fight. Davis is one of those guys you just can't let the record fool you. 14-8-1, but he is just a tough fighter, and he's going to go into the ring knowing it's all or nothing versus Patrick Majewski. He needs this win to get to where he wants to be in his career, and he's going to fight and continue to fight for it. Majewski's in for a long night, but we get to see what he's made of. He's yes.
Hey Tim, let me cut you off real quick there, bud. We're gonna go right into it. We're gonna bring our next guest on the line, and basically this gentleman can explain what's going to be going down this Saturday night at Bally's live on GFL.TV. He's a Hall of Fame promoter coming out of the city of Philadelphia, and it's always a great pleasure to talk to him. Mr. J. Russell Peltz. Russell, how you doing today?
Good. Glad to be here.
Hey, Tim and I were on here. We're talking about the big show that you got going on, Peltz Boxing at Bally's, headlined by Pat Majewski and Jamaal Davis. Also 6 other really intense cards really intense fights that you're used to putting on, delivering every time a Peltz Boxing card is in the area. But if you could tell us about it. We were just talking about the main event. Pat Majewski, Jamaal Davis we'll be talking to momentarily here on the show. But you also have 6 other big matchups. One of them that I have a lot of intrigue in is Chuck Musacchio and Lionel Thompson. I think that's going to be a barn burner. But if you could run down what's going to go down this Saturday night at Bally's, please.
Okay, first of all, just so we don't insult the Polish fans, his name is Patrick Majewski. Because I remember being in one of his fights and the people were chanting Majewski, and I said, what are they saying? And they said, well, that's how you pronounce Majewski in Polish. So let Mark Abrams know that if he's doing the blow-by-blow.
Mark Abrams will get that wrong. I've heard him numerous times on GFL broadcast calling him. So it's one more time, Russell. It's
Majewski, like Mayevski, Majewski is how it's pronounced. But Lionel Thompson and Musacchio is a good fight. It's not really the tune-up I don't think that Musacchio was looking for. He is now a full-time guidance counselor in South Jersey, and his boxing is limited. But if he can get past Lionel Thompson, who's 12-2, he'd be ready for something like, who's that Irish kid out? Sean Monahan. That would be a good fight for Musacchio. But he's going to have his hands full with Thompson because you can't denigrate Thompson because he got wasted in 2 or 3 rounds by Sergey Kovalev, because Kovalev is going to do that to most fighters. So it's a pretty intriguing fight. It figures to go the limit, and it's going to be a test for Musacchio at 177.
Well, let me ask you this, Russell. You got Musacchio. You mentioned he's a guidance counselor. As a promoter, how do you deal with fighters? I mean, he's always a guy that goes out there, puts on a great show for the fans and for the crowd. But at the end of the day, at one point he was considered, and he still can be considered, a top light heavyweight. I know he went up and him and Garrett Wilson had a sensational fight. But how do you take someone like him where if he put 100% into boxing, he could be a contender, potentially a champion?
Well, the problem is he's in his, is he 34 now? Masaccio, and he informs me because of his job, there's only certain times of the year that he can take off to fight out of town or overseas, and that's a problem because a lot of the fighters coming up overseas, a lot of the promoters like to bring over I don't want to get sued here, white American fighters who can't punch, and Masaccio fits the bill. I mean, they're not going to take over there to build up their fighters, young, tough, hard-hitting Americans. They're going to take over the Brian Mintos, the Chris Kovals, those heavyweights and light heavyweights, and Masaccio fits in that mold because he's got a good record. He'll probably get ranked soon on the fringes, and he can't hurt anybody. But, he can only do this in the summertime, on Christmas break, at Easter. So it limits, at this point in his life, I said, Chucky, this is it. You don't need any more wins on his record. He doesn't need any more wins on his record. Not that he's guaranteed to get one with Thompson. But if he does, it's time for him to make some money or become a full-time guidance counselor and forget about boxing, and we've talked about it.
I agree with you 100%. I've always been a fan of him inside of the ring, win or lose. But we got another lot, a huge lineup of fights. Like I said, you're always a guy who matches up these fighters very well. What are some other these fights that we should be looking out for that's on the undercard this Saturday night?
Well, we lost one today. Todd unthanked me needs an MRI on his shoulder, so he will not be fighting Hamid Abdul Mateen. But we got a young prospect out of Philly, a junior lightweight named Anthony Bergen, who I believe is 2-0. And he's going up against Elvis Rodriguez, who's fought for me once already, and is a tough kid. He lost his only fight. And Alex Sanchez, a pretty tough junior middleweight from Camden with a deceiving record of 2-1-1, goes up against Greg Jackson. We've got a lot of kids from the South Jersey and Philly area with a handful of fights between them. Joshua Reyes, Anthony Prescott, Saud Clark, who always come to fight and make good fights, and that's the way we look at our undercards in Atlantic City. You can't, it's too tough. If you've got 7 or 10 fighters under contract, it's tough to load up an entire card with them and look for guys to fight them. You're better off just making 4-round fights or 6-round fights between local kids who bring people, sell tickets, make good fights, and fight each other. Otherwise, you'll be flying in opponents from Nebraska or New Mexico or Kalamazoo, Michigan, and it's cost prohibitive when you don't have big television money. So our theory is once you get past the top 2 fights, just make even fights amongst the local kids and entertain the people because they're paying $50 and $75, and you don't want to give them what I call the cowboy and Indian shows, where all the guys in one corner win every fight. So that's our theory on these shows.
Well, so I want to get one final question for you. I want to get the main event. Let's go back to Patrick Maevsky, Jamaal Davis. Where does the winner go from there in this fight?
Well, Maevsky's ranked 9th in the world now by the WBC and 15 by the WBO. He's never really been, I don't think in my opinion, he's ever really been promoted correctly. He hasn't been pushed. He's won, 20 out of 21 fights. You see the popularity of a guy like Adamek in North Jersey. You see the popularity of Fonfara, the Polish middleweight in Chicago. There's a heavyweight, Spilka, that just knocked out Mike Malo. These guys are drawing 4,000 or 5,000 people to a fight. Adamek, of course, a lot more than that. Maevsky hasn't been pushed like that. If we get behind him and push him, he could be a Polish draw in South Jersey, but he doesn't have any piece of cakewalk with Jamaal Davis because actually his manager, Arnold Robbins, turned this fight down for 4 straight weeks until it was a choice of fighting Davis or not fighting at all. Davis has the style to beat Maevsky because he can move and counterpunch. The negative is, does he have the physical body strength because he's coming up from junior middleweight and he's not a big puncher to hang in there because Maevsky keeps coming forward. And if you can't bust Maevsky up to the point where they have to, because he does cut easily. He was cut pretty badly in his last fight with Latif Mundy, but Mundy ran out of gas after the 6th round. It was a majority decision. Davis has been on a treadmill really to nowhere his whole career. So this is another crossroads fight for him, and he's never won any of them. He didn't beat Rosado. He didn't beat Peter Quillen. He didn't beat Joel Julio. He needs to win one of these kind of fights to validate his career. So there's a lot on the line in this fight, and it's intriguing.
I agree. Russ, I agree 100%, and that's why I was going to say this is a very winnable fight for Jamaal Davis, who is looked at as the underdog here. But as you mentioned there, a lot of his defeats are against world title challengers, top guys, and early in his career lost some heartbreakers. Very close fight. But hey, Russell, any final words out there? We're encouraging everybody who can't be at Bally's in Atlantic City to attend live. Obviously, let them know where they can purchase tickets if they're going to attend live. But if you can't attend live, GFL.TV is the place to be. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time this Saturday night. GFL.TV. Tune in. Peltz Boxing always puts on some sensational night of fights. But any final word, J. Russell Peltz, for the listeners?
It's going to be light years better than what people watched on HBO Saturday night. And with a license fee of $3 million, which we don't have from Go Fight Live, it's going to be a much more entertaining evening. I can guarantee you that.
I look forward to it. Philly, New Jersey, always. You're always putting those rivalries in there, and we enjoy it. But thank you so much, J. Russell Peltz, Hall of Fame promoter, one of the best guys in the business. And you know what? I wish a big year for you and all your fighters this year. You had a great 2012 with Brian Jennings and so many of your other fighters. And you continue to deliver and produce great boxing, and we appreciate that as boxing fans.
Thank you. I'll see you Saturday.
You got it. J. Russell Peltz. Have a great one. All right, there you have it. We're going to go right into it. Let's go into it. We have our next guest on the line right now, but I apologize for making him wait. I know he's just a couple days away from, every fight's the biggest fight of your career when you have it upcoming, but he does have a tough opponent in front of him. And as we just spoke with J. Russell Peltz, he is considered the underdog going into this fight. I know he doesn't consider himself the underdog, but at the end of the day, Patrick Majewski really needs to bring it if he's going to contend with the truth. And Jamaal Davis, welcome to the show. It's an honor to talk to you and speak to you once again in lieu of a big fight coming up this Saturday night. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. How you feeling? I'm doing all right. Feeling good. Can't wait till the show's over.
Let me add, Jamaal, look, man, you're a Philly fighter. You know what I'm saying? There's no getting away around that. You guys sometimes you fight head first, and you just go in there and you just put on a tough fight. I got to ask you, man, we know a lot of Philly fighters leave a lot of their lives inside the gym sometimes before they even get to the fight. I got to ask you, Philly fighters are known to overtrain. Philly fighters are also known to not train enough. We got to know where the truth is right now going into this Saturday night.
The truth is the preparation has been great. We're not one of the ones that fight in them old school methods of gym Warren and stuff like that. Like, we have scheduled work that was made just for work and stuff, not, corner versus corner or fighters trying to kill each other in the gym and stuff and leaving it there. So we take our time and do what we have to do. The pressure is brought to us, to properly be prepared for the fight and stuff. And that's all that counts and stuff. Our corners are constantly telling us, don't. The Philly Warren days are over. The Philly versus Philly in the gyms and stuff like that, and everybody beating the crap out of themselves in the gym and don't have enough for the fight. We didn't have one of those training camps. We never had one of those training camps. And we actually had camps where we work on stuff. And so far, that's what's been working. The old school days was one thing, where guys would beat up on each other and stuff. That was good for them. That's what they like to do and stuff. But we're not in the era right now. We're in the era right now of hard work and stuff, but, not killing each other, not beating our bodies up in the gym.
Well, I'll tell you this, in a testament to your career, you're a guy that does come physically prepared. You've gone plenty of rounds in your career, in your young career. 23 professional fights. you put in some rounds as a pro, and you've been in there, and you put everybody, you pushed everybody you've been into the ring with to the limit, win or lose. And that's what, that's, like I said, that's why myself, and I know Tim Cudgess, my co-host here, we're fans of watching you fight. That's why, this Saturday night, you and Patrick Majewski, I think is going to be a great fight. I mean, obviously, what do you see in your opponent, Patrick Majewski, going into this fight? I mean, obviously, you're going in to win. Russell Peltz said it as well. You're going into this fight to win. You need this win to figure out where you're going to go with your career. What could you tell us about going into the fight with Patrick Majewski?
I really can't tell you anything about it because he was off of my radar because I had been fighting at 154 and I was comfortable fighting at 154. And so me coming up in weight, is a big difference and stuff because I only watch the guys at 54 and maybe 47. So once this came up again, I was just like, okay, but I don't watch the fights on people that I'm fighting because fighters tend to take their own advantages and think of their own strategies on top of the strategies that their corners could be preparing and stuff. So I haven't watched anything and stuff. So I really don't know much. I kept trying to watch his fight with the T fight, but every time it came on, I would just leave out the house or go running or something like that. And so I never really caught it. So I really can't say much. I mean, I hear he's a big puncher and stuff. I hear he believes in his right hand and stuff like that. That's what works for him. So my goal is to eliminate everything, whatever is his strength, take it away from him and stuff. So it's gonna be fun.
Well, as you mentioned, here as it was also mentioned by J. Russell Peltz, he's a bleeder. He does cut easily. Is that something? I mean, look, man, you don't get paid by the hour. I mean, sometimes in your fights, it seems like you get paid by the hour because sometimes you say, Jamaal Davis likes to fight. He likes to go. But, I mean, in this case, it's a guy who likes to cut easy. He's a guy who, swells up easy. Is that something you're going to look forward to? Is that something you and your team is kind of looking into, or maybe you should think about looking into, is that he cuts easy? If you can get that started, get the blood flowing, that can make it a short night for him.
Yeah, I was told that he cuts easy and stuff, but, like I said, every fight is different and stuff, so he could be getting prepared for that. He could be prepared to cut easy and stuff, moving his head a little bit more. So we'll find out. We'll find out what our strong point will be in this fight right here and stuff like that to try to bring out him getting cut and stuff like that, get him to fall into our traps. So we'll have to see how it works out.
And we're looking forward to that. And this is what I got to ask you too, man. What does a win do for Jamaal Davis or Patrick Majewski?
A win does something. And a win here, we don't need a win like my last fight was, though I won and I sat down until now. I want to be active for like an active year. I would like a win here to lead to something bigger down the road, another top guy or whatever, or position for a little belt or whatever. Start grabbing stuff that I feel as though I put the work in and I deserve. And so I feel as though, I train hard. I'm always in the gym. I'm a gym rat. After this fight, depending on how I go, we'll take about a week off and we'll be right back in the gym. We'll relax a little bit. So we're looking forward to that. The next move is going to be something great, I hope. After a win here and stuff. But we all know that everybody trains and prepares to win, but who has the most heart?
And Jamaal, I got to ask you one more thing. The opposite of the last question I asked you, what would a loss do?
A loss, to me personally, how I feel, will kill me and stuff. So, I'm getting older. I'm not getting no younger and stuff. I can't be one of those guys that sit there and say I box nothing to accomplish anything. I have to accomplish, and I have to start accomplishing now. I felt good in my last performance. I feel even better in this one. So, all I know is a win here. A win here would be great. A loss, I feel as though it would kill me and it'll sit me down.
Well said. Jamaal Davis, let me ask you the truth. Where could the listeners follow you, find more about you? Are you on Twitter? Can they find you on Facebook? Follow you, see where you're, see what kind of stuff you say. I know a lot of people leave some quotes and like to talk some smack on their social media stuff. Can anybody follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at The Truth. The Truth. I haven't been on Twitter in a second, but I know it's The Truth 311, I think, on Twitter.
311?
Yeah. It's either that or just The Truth. I know on Instagram it's The Truth 53. And Jamaal Davis at Facebook. It's probably the Truth 53 on Twitter too, or just The Truth.
Oh yeah, we got the Truth. We got the Truth 53 on Twitter. I just found it. First thing I put up The Truth. It was the first thing that came up. So yeah, you're on there. Yeah, we'll get you active on Twitter again. We'll start getting everybody to start following you on Twitter. This way you get active. Man, we wish you all the best. Obviously, this Saturday night, Bally's Atlantic City. You and Patrick Mayevsky going at it, man. It's gonna be a good fight. I know you're always keen to put on a show. And, The Truth, Jamaal Davis, man, we appreciate you joining us once again, and we look forward to talking to you again right here again, man.
I thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate it. Can't wait
we look forward to it, man. God bless you, and all the best Saturday night.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. All right, there you have it, The Truth, Jamaal Davis. That's Tim. I know you. I think you're still with us, Tim.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. So that's the one thing I like. We're from Philly, man. We always support our Philly guys, and that's why when we brought Jamaal on for the first time, he is a Philly fighter. I mean, this guy, and I said it, he goes in there round after round, and this guy punishing fighter in there. And the one thing you can rest assured, Jamaal Davis will come in shape. He will come prepared to go 6 rounds, 12 rounds, and I mean, if they want to bring back 15 rounds. I'm sure he'd be willing to do that. And, all the best to him, definitely represents Philadelphia. And I know in the next few moments we're going to speak to his opponent, Patrick Mayevsky, and we'll see where he's going. Patrick Mayevsky, by way of Poland, now residing in Atlantic City. He's a guy, again, he's coming on. He's unbeaten in his last few fights like Jamaal Davis. This is what makes this fight intriguing. J. Russell Peltz did mention that, Mayevsky's team was a little reluctant for a month to accept the Jamaal Davis fight, which that tells you this is, hey, maybe that's not the right fight for us right now. He went in his last fight. I didn't understand that. The last fight with him and Latif Mundy wasn't the most exciting fight. Latif Mundy, another Philly fighter, is known for making the fights look awkward. You can't get Latif Mundy out of there fast. He's going to make it ugly for you. And I remember that fight, the scorecards were just all over the place. And I mean, it was just one of those fights. Maybe somebody saw Latif Mundy being closer than it is. But I had Patrick Mayevsky that fight there, and another guy again had that win for one of the regional middleweight titles. He beat Kirkpatrick in Atlantic City, and let's not forget he defeated a former 2-time Bernard Hopkins opponent in Antoine Eccles, which was a really, really good win for him at that time. I mean, everybody seems like they're beating Antoine Eccles these days, but no, Mayevsky went in there and held his own. Jamaal Davis coming off of another big, tough win in his last fight as well. Last year, I think it was last summer, another GFL fight. Doel Carrasquillo, that was another sensational fight. You guys go check out GFL.tv. Jamaal Davis, I think we got at least 5 fights with him on there. So check that out. Check out GFL right now. I mean, I think some of the fights might even be free, but if not, just pay the bucks. These guys are going to put on a war this Saturday night, Bally's Atlantic City. And just want to run down Tommy Garcia, Josh Reyes going at it, Anthony Prescott, Saeed Clark, Elvis Rodriguez, Anthony Burgin. J. Russell Peltz did mention that the Todd Unthank May Hamid Abdul Mateen fight was scratched, so we're not getting a chance to see that. We'll probably get a chance to see that fight one of the next month's Peltz Boxing cards. Don't forget Chuck Masaccio and Lonnie B should be a good heavyweight fight. Lonnie B, you can't judge him off that Kovalev fight. Masaccio, is another guy who comes prepared. You don't know what Masaccio you get, but that should be a great fight. And then you got Greg Jackson and Alex Sanchez. Should be sensational. Once again, Patrick Mayevsky, Jamaal Davis, 10-round main event Saturday night, GFL.TV. It's going to be a war. Tim Cudgess, is it safe to say our next guest is probably not going to show?
Yeah, it's pretty much safe to say. It was probably a miscommunication in times, and he's busy training for this fight.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, we're supposed to remain biased, but when they no show our show, we can unleash our biasness. War Jamaal Davis this Saturday night. Thanks everybody for joining us. GFL Radio, ATG Radio. Don't forget, tune in tomorrow night. Tune into the ATG Radio Network anytime. ATGRadio.com. GFL.TV is the place to be for combat sports, all boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, professional wrestling that you can use to your enjoyment. Go check it out now. There's so much stuff on there. Any type of combat sport you like, we got it. GFL.TV. On behalf of Tim Cudgess, myself, Frank Stea, we thank you for joining us. With Peltz Boxing is Saturday night. Mayevsky, Jamaal Davis, main event, 5 other big fights on that card, $10. That's right, it's $10, right, Tim?
Yep, $9.99.
$9.99. There you go. $9, because if not, we'd have probably had to discount it if they're advertising it on here. But $9.99. Order now, order tomorrow, but be sure to tune in Saturday night. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for joining us. Peace.